Anybody for number 3? Nobody for 3? Anybody, Tara? Yeah, that's what it is. This is, you see the red brick building on the top there? This is the old City Hall. The date's from 1891. It's presently vacant, about to be renovated. All the old offices turned into studios for local artists in town. And the old fire department was once located down on the first floor. This is Sloppy Joe's Bar on the left, which has always been known as Ernest Hemingway's favorite place to have a drink. But this is not the original location of Joe Russell's bar. Russell started his legal career as a barkeeper across the road on the left, and that yellow building is called Captain Tony's. One day back in 1937, the landlord over there raised the rent from $3 to $4 a week. So Joe Russell told everybody in the bar, even Hemingway was in there that night, he said, pick up your beer and your bar stools, we're moving. So they've been on this corner ever since 1937. Now, realize this, Joe Russell was not only the owner and head bartender, he was also a ship's captain. He took Hemingway out fishing all the time. And before he had a legitimate bar, well, those were the Prohibition years, and he was known as a rum runner. He actually used to go to Cuba and bring back the alcohol. Now, the other thing that made Sloppy Joe's a famous bar is the sandwich that Joe Russell invented. And you know that guy had the audacity to name it after himself? But that's where you'll find the original Sloppy Joe sandwich. Does anybody know what the difference between the original Sloppy Joe and the one you can make at home is? $8. Now, Captain Tony's, that yellow building, that's best known as the place where Buffett got his start in Key West all those years ago. This is Duval Street, named for our first civilian territorial governor, William Pope Duval. That was back in 1822. This White House with the green trim on the right says Garden Tours. That's the oldest surviving house in the Florida Keys. It dates from 1829. And the yellow building coming up on the right with the Prudential sign is actually the first schoolhouse in the Florida Keys. So look up to the second floor, up to the roof line, and you'll still see the old school bell. 1842. And look, if we were walking up the steps, look at the posts to the left and the right. You'll see those round plaques with the stars. You potentially see those stars on any building. One star means the exterior looks just the way that it did back when it was originally built. Okay? And you have to win the exterior award before you win the second star, which is obviously the interior award. You'll see lots of buildings with one star, very few with 2 stars. Now, the building on our right is the La Concha, the skyscraper of Key West, best known for what happened here back in 1941. The great playwright Tennessee Williams actually started out in 1941 living in New Orleans, and he was living with Truman Capote. They had a big blow-up, a big fight. So Tennessee Williams grabs his notes, rushes over to Key West. Now, he bought a house, but the house wasn't built, so he goes into the hotel. He didn't rent a room, he rented the entire 7th floor. And while he was up there all by himself, that's when he wrote the streetcar named Desire. Margaritaville here on the right, look at your cheeseburger in paradise. And this beige building with the yellow trim on the right, that's the San Carlos Institute. That's where the conspiracy for Cuban independence from Spain began back in the 1870s. It's also where the Great Fire in Key West started, the 1886 fire. Now on the left, up high above the Walgreens and the Strand sign, that style of beautiful hand-painted architecture is called Rococo. Now that's similar to many buildings that you're going to find in downtown Havana. Now this little island has actually had the Navy on it since 1823. Those guys left town beginning in 1974, and thankfully they came back after a few years. But when they left, I mean, not only did the economy suffer, but all the buildings down in this region went absolutely vacant. As part of the bicentennial, the city just passed some legislation designed to bring this place back to life. If you owned a building down here, you were required to renovate. I mean, you had to bring back the look and the feel of the mid to late 1800s. if you didn't want to renovate, you were required to sell out to somebody willing to do the work. Well, as a result, a lot of people didn't want to put a penny into their buildings. And the price range for the majority of these buildings so far, most, not all, who could have been purchased in the late 1970s were somewhere between $1 to $5. Now, you know, of course, you had to fix it up. Now, that's the drawback, 50 or 60 grand. Was it worth the gamble? Now, I don't know where all y'all are from.
Kentucky!
Let me show you a starting point to move into Key West single-family house. This is an old cigar maker's cottage here. This gray one with the termites that they're working on. Normal selling price for a house like that will be around $700,000 here in Key West. That's where they start. Mobile homes are down to $500,000. This is the Sandy Cornish Memorial Church on the right. Cornish was known as the great farmer of Key West. He actually grew the produce that the island lived on in the 1840s and the 1860s. And actually, when he passed away, they renamed the church in his honor. We are 1 block away from the Ernest Hemingway house. We won't see the house until we're directly in front of it. It hides behind this red brick wall coming up on the left. The wall was not always here. It wasn't when Hemingway moved to this corner back in 1931. He was a well-known writer when he arrived. He became a prolific writer living on this corner, writing over a dozen of his most successful novels while he was here. As a result of his popularity, his fans began to sneak into his yard, peek into his window, and knock at his door. So one day in 1937, he just called some friends and he said, "Come help me put a brick wall around my house." Take a good look at that brick wall and tell me the truth. Aren't we glad he was a professional writer, not a professional bricklayer? Behind that crazy tree there to the right, called the banyan, is the base of the old Key West Lighthouse. Now, don't strain your neck trying to look to the top of the lighthouse. We're going to go around the corner, and then it'll be much easier to see the top. Originally, the lighthouse was on the shore where you expect it to be, but it was toppled by a hurricane in 1846. So the Navy drags to shelter that spot. They reworked it, added about 20 feet to the top of it, got it open in 1847, the following year, and actually remained active until 1969. Now if you look to the back to the left and up high, now you can see the old Key West Lighthouse. Oh, there's people out there today. 88 steps to the top. It's all wired in up the top. Really, really great view from up there. The important thing to realize is that that lighthouse is across the street from the Hemingway house. Hemingway chose that home for one main reason. He knew that he could walk out of the bar at night, look up at the sky, and he would always know which way home was. After all the stories told about it, all the awards that he won, I'm sure you realize that he actually led a very troubled life, which eventually ended with him committing suicide in 1961. But how many of you are aware that his dad committed suicide when he was a young boy? And it's believed that his mother frequently told him he was responsible for his dad's suicide. Anyways, Hemingway always said he hated his mom because his mom hated him first. One morning in 1934, he was at a coffee shop in this neighborhood with a group of friends, and in walked a postman with a note from the postmaster that said quite simply, "Ernest, you have a package from your mom." And the 7 guys around him say he got all excited. You see, he hadn't heard from mom in over 8 years, and this package had arrived 2 days before his birthday. Hemingway gathered everybody up and he rushed them down to the post office. And on the fast walk down there to the post office, he was heard to say the same 2 things over and over under his breath. "Wonder what she got me for my birthday," and "I bet she's trying to make up for all these years of neglect." Now, Hemingway's favorite sweet treat in life was a chocolate cake. And when he opened the box that morning, don't you know after all those years his mom had carefully baked and wrapped a chocolate cake for the journey to her son? She just also made sure she included the handgun that his dad committed suicide with. That's the kind of thing she did to him as long as she was alive. This is all St. Mary's Star of the Sea Roman Catholic Church to our right. See the grotto down to the right? It looks really, really old, but that's the newest thing on their property. That grotto was hand-built in 1922 by Sister Louise Gabrielle, all by herself. And she dedicated it to the island. It actually serves as an eternal prayer. Hurricanes will never hurt the island or the parishioners of the church. That ceremony was 86 years ago. Now, what's happened to the